So here it is. Here we go. So today we're with Loic. Hold on, I'm just going to check. Yes, it's all good. It's recording. Loic, for me, it's always a pleasure to see you again, because you came exactly a year ago to the first dry fasting retreat in Châtel. Yes, we organized it in Châtel and you came back this year. So a year later and you completed the Grand Slam. What we call the Grand Slam is 4 dry fasts in 1 year, each lasting 10 days. So it's the full package. So what I'm most interested in discussing with you is how you were before. You had a soul sickness with pain, a lot of fatigue, I believe. What I'd like is for you to detail a bit about the effect you had before, and now how do you feel a year later after having done those 4 dry fasts? If you could go back over those events a bit and then tell us how you were before, the before and after of the dry fasts. Afterwards, we'll go back to more specific points and questions.
All right.
Thank you very much for sharing. I really appreciate people who leave a record, a testimony, because it's true that what makes progress is the clinic, it's the follow-up with patients, it's the follow-up with people. So it allows for feedback. So I really encourage people to give feedback on the dry fast. The experiences they have are important for advancing the method. So I'm listening to you.
Thank you, Michel, for accompanying me in this endeavor. I started my first long dry fast a year ago. It was last year in Châtel. As you said, I have AME disease. I've had it for a very long time. It feels like forever, with the following symptoms. Body aches when I get up in the morning. I was completely broken, as if I had been exercising all day, all night. Also problems with joints, with pains in the joints that move around. It can be in the elbows, the hip, different places. Great fatigue. As soon as I stopped, as soon as I was no longer under stress, I needed to rest, to sleep. Really extreme, intense fatigue. Problems with short-term memory as well. I started forgetting the names of people who would come and tell me their names. And then also rather depressive states in the end, and also a mental state. The feeling of having mental fog in the end, of having a fog regularly. So there you go. Those were the symptoms I had.
Which are really exactly all the symptoms of the disease of the soul. You explained them all. So the migratory pains, fatigue, etc. It's fog. It was really exactly that. There you go. I'm listening for what's next.
Before doing this kind of therapeutic sector, I still did plenty of things that still improved the situation. Among other things, 7 years ago, I had a job that was extremely stressful. I worked for 25 years in a multinational company, so I completely changed careers. Now I am in coaching and hypnosis. I support people, so I am no longer in the stress I used to have, so it has improved. Diet as well, I was also followed by different naturopaths, so I made changes in terms of diet. Meditation too, I took time to meditate. Yoga as well, physical activity. So I did all that. I saw there was an improvement. However, a year ago, the vitality was still not there. I felt it in the evening, especially in the evening. In the morning, I have vitality, but in the evening, difficulty staying focused, wanting to go to sleep. Because I also lead groups, so I felt it was much more difficult in the evening. Dry fasting. I started the first dry fasts where I began with 1 day because it was gradual. Before reaching 10 days, I started about 5 years ago. I had done water fast before, which didn't suit me too well, especially the recovery. And then I discovered dry fasting. So I did 1 day fasts, I do 3 day fasts. Then after that, I do 5 day fasts, but I had never gone up to 10 days. So that I started last year. And then on the advice of Michel and Professor Filanov as well, regarding diet, it's important to do at least 3 days fairly close together. That's why I did 2 more afterwards and then one last one. So I did 4 in 1 year between last year and this year. I really saw between last year's and this year's a huge difference already during the dry fast in terms of vitality. So last year, it's certain that by the 7th day, it was starting to be very, very difficult in terms of vitality. Of course, I went out on Michel's advice, so I always went for a walk, but I went very, very slowly, very gently, which was not the case this year, where up until the 2nd day, I went to the mountains. I could do 500 meters of elevation, 3 hours of walking in the morning. I really had great vitality. So that was the first difference I noticed during this dry fast, between the 1st and the 4th, and also afterwards, in terms of recovery. Last year it was the same. The recovery was quite long. It took me a while. I spent at least 3 weeks where I was rather slow, doing things quite slowly. So I took the opportunity to rest, a lot of rest. It did me a lot of good. And to regain my weight too. It takes time. I don't remember exactly, but it must have taken me maybe a month and a half to regain the weight I had before. Whereas now I see that in 3 weeks I've practically regained my previous weight with good vitality that continues a break. I feel like it's increasing day by day.
We need to explain to people. So indeed, you came out of the dry fast about 3 weeks ago.
It's been 3 weeks exactly.
3 weeks. So indeed, vitality returns in about 2 months. So there's a physiological process happening in the body. There are changes, energy returns, stem cells, etc. It takes about 2 months. That's why we don't ask people to do blood tests or things like that during the 2 months. So it's still, but after 3 weeks, I think vitality has already returned well. And then can you really maybe detail perhaps after the third dry fast or now, how you feel compared to the pain you had before? Are they still there? Have you really noticed a difference compared to before?
Yes, so the pain, there are still moments when from time to time during dry fasting, it can come back, but it doesn't stay. There are things, I don't know if it's a cleansing happening, but especially the aches in the morning, it happens to me. It might have happened during dry fasting to feel that, but now I don't have it anymore. It's gone. The mental fog, well, I don't have it at all. On the contrary, my mind, I feel it very clear. And I don't have any joint pain either.
Do you think it was after you did 4 dry fasts? So these pains, these joint pain problems, the fatigue, all that, after how many dry fasts did you really feel it? I think that after the first one, you already saw a difference, an improvement.
Really, with the first one, there was indeed a real improvement, but then continuously it kept getting better. So I find it hard to know exactly. But I think that in terms of the third one, there was something that really transformed. And then the fourth one, I think it confirmed the continuation of everything I've done.
So what really surprised me about you is that you are at the level of vitality compared to others. In the group, you were really, I won't say light years ahead, but physically you were really good. I mean, I've rarely seen someone on the 10th day do 500 meters of positive elevation gain. We met, I don't remember, we went for another walk together. I saw that physically you were really at your best. So I tell myself we see the cumulative effects of several dry fasts in a row, which had a significant impact on vitality. So do you consider yourself good today? Do we dare define the term cured or greatly improved? How can you evaluate this dry fasting therapy in the treatment of Lyme disease? How do you see yourself today?
I feel like I'm cured. So what I have planned is in September, as you say, I will wait a little longer to do tests. So you gave me a laboratory in Germany to check if I really no longer have borreliosis and all that is co-infection. But yes, that's really the impression I have, that I have overcome this disease.
Bravo, in any case. I also saw in you a strong determination not to give up and to go all the way. So a lot of courage that I felt in you. There are few people who are capable of doing that in 1 year, 4 dry fasts, but that's indeed what should ideally be done. So there you go. Besides that, it's a bit of the questions. We can really say there is a before and an after.
Yes, exactly. It's obvious you saw it. You are the first young one, and you saw the one I did. And I was even surprised myself by the vitality I had. After 10 days without eating, without drinking, I didn't understand how I managed to climb the mountain with great vitality.
So this can really get people thinking. Already, when I talk to most people, they say you can fast for about 10 days without eating or drinking. Most people don't believe it or think I'm lying. And when I explain to them that you can treat severe, heavy, and disabling pathologies, they believe me even less. That's why here we have the living example of someone who is testifying. I was also surprised when I saw you again in Châtel a year later. A video was made of me a year ago that you posted. We saw you at the outings, but really quite weakened. It was after 4 or 5 days of going out. So we saw that you were speaking softly with little vitality. So now we see you differently. So what struck me was when I saw you again in Châtel, I said, my goodness, the rejuvenating effect. I said, you've gained 10 years of youth. And that's good. It's always after what you can see, especially since you've done several. So there, I really saw it. I said to myself, there you go. He's not the same anymore. He has really rejuvenated. Have the people around you noticed that too?
Exactly. I've had a lot of comments about that, especially from people I don't see regularly. Even my family, I don't see them that much because we're not in the same region at all. And they also pointed that out to me. I really had something where I rejuvenated, and I feel it in my skin too. The skin is much softer. There really was an effect that happened. Physically, it's quite incredible. People often tell me, I often get this feedback. People say, why do I look younger?
Well, that's exactly the effects of dry fasting. We don't mix it with water fasting, so it's the stem cells that regenerate all the organs, all the skin. All systems are renewed, whether it's the circulatory system, the skeletal systems, everything is renewed like a baby. The digestive system is restored to its maximum possible capacity, especially since you really did, we can truly say, hormesis. You went as far as you needed to go, but not too far. And that's why it was necessary to adjust the days accordingly. So I think that 10 days for you was really the distance you could go without putting yourself in danger. So there you go. People who want to watch the video of you from a year ago, they can compare.
Yes, that's true.
To compare, no problem. There you go. How did you find the setting and then the support in Châtel? We're returning to this place we liked a year ago. We're going back up there. How did you find the place for walks? And also, You can also talk about the support you received with Daria and me about 2 months ago on that.
First, in terms of the setting, weather in the mountains in Chatel, it's very helpful. The setting is really very helpful. We're immediately in the adventure. I go out in the morning, I go for a walk. I'm in the middle of nature. There is water too, which is nice, not necessarily easy psychologically, but there is water everywhere. There are streams, there are torrents, there are waterfalls. It's really very pleasant to feel this water, which is there, present everywhere. The nature is very beautiful too. It's very pretty, so I love it. I like the mountains, but this setting, I like it a lot. In terms of supervision, we are also very well supported by Daria, your assistant, or yourself, Michel. So we have a meeting in the morning, which is planned, and a meeting in the evening, which already allows us to take a tour, how we are, how things are going for each person, to exchange, to support each other, because for some people it's more or less hard, and it's important to have this group spirit, which is present. And then it's not just physical, we also work on the psychological part. So there are activities that are offered, themes that are proposed to also see what's happening on the psychological level. And I think it's important to also have this dimension, psychological, so with you and with Daria. And then afterwards, you offered us this year bioresonance, so very interesting. I was able to notice a number of things that weren't working well before I knew it. For example, the liver, things like that, which are working perfectly now. You provided us with information about that, a follow-up also regarding that. And then afterwards, you regularly offered either gentle yoga activities, so being able to do that in the morning, also walks, which we could do together, outings, exchanging, also the Schumann platform. I often took advantage of it I would go for a walk, I did the walk, and then I spent some time on the Schumann platform, which allows for, it's a vibration, which allows everything to relax, everything to unwind, and also moments that I really enjoy, where I can be at peace with myself, meditate quietly, there you go, also rest. There you go, I really enjoyed the whole program.
Did you get bored during the week?
No, it goes by. So it's true that the nights are short. We wake up early, but I would wake up. I start with what we call cold water effusions. That is water splashes, cold water plunges really feel good. Then afterwards, I often went for a walk. We had other meetings, no, because I was never bored. Time flies, you know. The days go by quickly. That's what I found.
Okay. Did you feel safe in the group? Did you feel that there was, in terms of safety, it's a bit like people are afraid of the dry fasting game. What can you say about that? How do you evaluate that? Did you feel comfortable, calm, at ease?
Well, it's true that, I had done, 4, so whether it was even the first one, even though it was my first dry fast that long, I immediately felt confident. I mean, with Michel and then with Daria. So we can, we can call you at any time if there is anything, and I know you are there, you answer. So I immediately felt safe. Well, then I was used to it, so I felt very good. And also I saw, for everyone too, so everyone is almost individually monitored. Is individually monitored. So break time and is safe in relation to perhaps the moment when for some it is necessary to stop the dry fasting, so that there you go, we can really be confident about that. that when it's time, well, you will tell us, and there you go, and it will go very, very well, or on the contrary. There are times when we might feel like stopping, then you'll advise us to continue, and that's very, very good too, I mean. Yes, thank you.
Indeed, there was work on emotions, on release, on connecting with oneself in the game. It's important to find moments for oneself, an inner introspection work. You who have done solo games, how did you see the difference compared to this group energy? Did the group energy bring something else?
So it's true that I also like having moments of being alone. So it's true that for me, it doesn't necessarily bother me to be all alone, to do things alone. So the group energy, what it also brings is something else. It's an exchange of our experiences of what is happening for some, for others, and there I find that it's important, and that we can also help each other. I mean, and at certain times it can be very, very difficult for some people, and we are present, we are there. I mean, to support them, we are to listen to them, to to be with them, and then also, well, it's true that there's the pleasant side, of doing things together, of sharing together. I think when we went for a walk too, and then we found ourselves, I don't know, beside a lake, being together, dipping our feet in the vessel, and there you has all this friendly side, which is important and very, very pleasant.
Are you going to continue fasting as a preventive measure now that you've somewhat gotten over all those pains, those symptoms you had? Are you going to continue a bit with dry fasting? What's your idea?
Yes, so there's already what I do regularly. So there I'll be able to start again. I'll wait a little longer, but I do every Monday. So I do a dry fast, then from 24 to 36 hours. It depends. Sometimes I stop eating on Sunday noon, sometimes Sunday evening, and I can resume either on Tuesday morning. If I have breakfast, I don't always have it, or on Tuesday noon. Okay, that I do it. Yeah, I do it every week. So it's the same. We have a small group too. There are other people who do it. So everyone does it at their own, let's say, what they can do. There are some who do water fasts. Well, it's just to rest a bit the whole digestive system. I'm on a dry fast, so 24 or 36 hours, a bit more. And then so the fact of doing a long dry fast also brings, so there's the physical side, but there's the, let's say, psychic side, and maybe even spiritual.
That's what I wanted to get to.
There you go. And there you go, it brings me, these are moments of meditation, for example, which are deep meditations that I can do, moments of connection also with myself, which are very deep, being also connected with one's body, but with one's heart, to break time, pause at that moment. So there is another dimension of dry fasting, which brings me a lot too. So for me, I think I would continue at least a long dry fast per year. I mean, it's kind of what I set for myself. Yeah.
When you don't have any pathology, a long dry fast of 7 days per year, it's prevention. It's the cleansing of waste, of toxins in the body. We poison ourselves even through the air, through what we drink, through what we eat. We inevitably have toxins in circulation. A 7-day dry fasting game already allows for an average cleanse. This is what Russians do as a preventive measure. Russian women are fond of the dry fasting game. On average, it's 7 days. Prevention is 7 days. I also did 10 days several times as well. Did you feel that slightly altered state of consciousness when you come out of the dry fasting game? Did you feel that state of well-being? and you as a hypnotherapist, how can you evaluate this method in treating certain sufferings? People who lack self-confidence, people who have fears, anxieties. How did it go for you internally? What advice could you give to people who have that? How could it help them?
Okay, there is one thing. So I am someone who was, as a child, very, very, very anxious. Actually, I had really a lot of anxiety, very, very strong anxieties. So I did a lot of Kiribi because of that, and I calmed my anxieties. But well, it can happen to me, I think, a bit like many people, to wake up in the morning with a bad dream and feel anxious. And what is interesting with dry fasting is that we have, well, it doesn't necessarily last all the time, but at least for 2 months there is no more anxiety. That is to say, when I wake up in the morning, I always feel good, and there is no anxiety that comes. So that's an effect that is well, for me, known to those with severe anxiety. It's really it's quite incredible. It's very so well. I don't take any medication, no anxiolytics, nothing at all, and it has incredible effects. I recommend for people who are perhaps highly anxious, who experience anxiety, well, precisely, to do this long dry fast. And there you go. They will experience, yes, states of, as you say, altered consciousness, states of happiness, of grace. There you go, of grace. There you go, which are really very, very pleasant. Then there is also another effect that has, and this I had seen, especially during the first fast, as my state of vitality was very low. It's to see that, well, every day, even if it can be created, let's say, little by little, but that one becomes more and more, that the state of vitality increases more and more. And that's the same. It's huge. I mean, it's when you realize that, well, yesterday I had trouble doing that. Now I do it better. And tomorrow I'll do it even better. So I do a lot of yoga. So I also noticed, in terms of yoga, the flexibility I didn't have and that I have now. There you go. So there's that. And then concentration too, which is really, really improved in an incredible way. Being focused on the task, focused on what I'm doing, I do. Maybe making fewer mistakes, forgetting things. You see, I mean, compared to before, I could break things out of clumsiness. It's very, very rare. I mean, or losing the keys, it's very, very rare too. I mean, compared to what I do, I am much more present, much more conscious than I could be before. So that is also, it's also very helpful.
Energy is the nerve of war. Indeed, as soon as the body restructures, cleanses, returns to an original state, as original as possible, vitality returns and it changes things. In any case, I saw it for sports. All high-level athletes should be interested in this method, at least to do one in the off-season. It's the bike, October, November. It's the ideal period to do it preventively in order to have a dry fasting if we have boosted energy. In any case, I would say at least 6 months, even a year, 6 to 10 months in any case. For people who experience fatigue, indeed, the best treatment is cleansing, restructuring the organelles, the cells and the blood improve, and all the systems reorganize. It's the cellular reset. So indeed, dry fasting for that, we have really helped people with chronic fatigue, that's for sure. Even short dry fasts are interesting. If you maintain a rhythm of 36 hours per week, it's quite valid. It might not go as far, there might not be altered states of consciousness and grace, but it remains interesting for people who cannot, for various reasons, do a long dry fast. So thank you for these subtleties that I appreciate that you show us. What advice could you give to someone interested in the game of ESSEC? What advice could you give to someone who doesn't dare take the step, who has doubts, who still has fears about it? What advice could you give?
It's about, well, it's a little bit, let's say what I was explaining is that before I was gradually getting into it, actually. Before reaching these 10 days, it's already about starting with, well, maybe a day. So you say to yourself, okay, today I'm not eating, I'm not drinking, and I see how it goes, because it's certain that at the beginning, even doing 1 day or 3 days, when I started with 3 days, it was probably more difficult than when I did 7 or 10 days. I mean, there are times when the body, there are still a lot of toxins. That was my case. I also had metals, heavy metals, and it was difficult. It was difficult. I remember when I did the 3 days, it was very hard for me. I mean, very, very difficult. So it's about going gradually. That is to say, I do 1 day, okay, it's fine. I do another one, maybe a bit later. And then after I try to do maybe 2 days or 3 days, and I see how it goes. And then I do 3 days again to really go at it, to respect oneself too, and then to see how it is for oneself. And then to move forward like that, little by little. And to see that maybe at some point it's going to be, when it detoxifies, when it's in acidosis, it can be complicated. But then we feel much better. There are things that get repaired in the body, so that's kind of it. And then to also get support, I mean, to be with people like you, Michel, who can support us, follow us in this process.
It's true that the preparation, as you did it, is ideal. You went step by step. I would also add the preparatory aspect with the preparation. We have slightly modified the preparations now. We have simplified them. In the book, there will be additions coming. So it's important to prepare well in advance, to detox beforehand, before the cleanse, to do some work before that. Before starting a dry fast, we prepare a minimum, and then it makes the aftermath easier. That's just it. Do you want to add anything else regarding the dry fast? What you experienced in a year at least? Would you like to add anything for the people listening to us who are interested in the dry fast?
Yes. Well, I can only encourage, I mean, the people who have, yes, I'm talking about the curse because that's what I know, or other illnesses precisely, to go towards that, to see how their condition improves. I mean, but in a really impressive way. I mean, the fact of doing a dry fast and then afterwards, as I was saying, it's not just about the physical, there's also the psychological. I mean, regarding, we were talking about anxiety, fear, it's certain that our perspective on life also changes, as if we gain more perspective to also put into context what happens around us. Having gone through what we did, a long dry fast, I think it's also very helpful in relation to everything we can. Yes, all the difficulties in life that we can have or that we might endure, perhaps.
In any case, thank you very much, Loic, for this interview. Very interesting to have your testimony after what you've been through. In any case, thank you very much and good luck to you. We hope for lots of success for you in your life as a coach and hypnotherapist. In any case, thank you. Thank you very much for this interview. Thank you, Michel.